Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the City of Belleville City Council meeting for April the 26th. I have a couple opening comments. I want to welcome everyone to our regular meeting and state that today we are meeting under the circumstances of a provincial declaration of emergency and during a stay-at-home order. As a result, Belleville City Council is meeting electronically, and we look forward to being in person again when it is safe to do so. I want to take a moment to thank our wonderful staff for assisting in the setup of this electronic meeting of Belleville City Council. And I also want to thank all members of council for their cooperation and flexibility in meeting under these unusual circumstances as permitted by the provincial government. While we all know the need for cooperation during the best of times, these virtual meetings are difficult and awkward. I look to my colleagues for extra cooperation as we conduct the business necessary for the operations of the City of Belleville. For those of you at home watching on the city's streaming service or on our YouTube channel or on your TV, I would point out that our agenda and all the reports for today's meeting are on the city website at www.belleville.ca. And on the website, there is a button for agenda minutes and live meeting video on the left side of the screen. If you select it, you can then select April the 26th on the calendar, and it will bring you to the agenda for today's meeting. In addition to the agenda, there is a blue hyperlink on the agenda in the event you wish to look at the reports that council has before them, so you can follow along with us. With that, I will call the meeting to order and state that all members of council are present. I'd like to welcome Councillor Carol Feeney to her first council meeting. I am here at City Hall and all other members are present electronically. I would now like to ask the City Clerk and Director of Corporate Services, Mr. Matt McDonald, to lead us in a moment of reflection.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Item 3 on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Does anyone have anything they'd like to disclose? Councillor McCaw.
Hi, thanks for you. I don't know if I need to or not, but I will just to be cautious at 8C2.
8C2?
Yes, please.
Okay, 8C2. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no others, then we'll move on to item number 5, reading and confirmation of the minutes of the special council meeting of March the 30th, 2021, the regular council meeting of April 12th, 2021, the special in-camera meeting of March 30th, 2021, and the regular in-camera meeting of April 12th, 2021. May I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. There are no deputations today. And item number 7 deals with correspondence. It is a letter from the Belleville Downtown District Business Improvement Association. And the resolution is that the April 6, 2021 letter from the Belleville Downtown District BIA requesting support and approval for 1-lane partial closure of Front Street from June 1st to August 31st, 2021, and approval of 3 parklets until September 31st, 2021 be approved. Moved by Councillor Millette, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Mr. McDonald, can I just ask, so if we approve this today, is that all you want, or do we need to amend it to refer to staff as well?
To the chair and all of council. Ultimately, I think if council gives approval, staff will work with PDIA to ensure that it is done in a safe and appropriate manner.
Okay, great. So receiving this, we'll approve it, and then we are good for the summer. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried, and we wish the very best to the Downtown BIA as we work to deal with another summer with some COVID challenges, and we will hope that they will dissipate very quickly. Item number 8, Committee of the Whole, and I need a motion to go into Committee of the Whole to hear and consider reports, passing of recommendations, and resolutions with myself in the chair. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Feeney. All in favor? It's carried. And so we move to the report section of the agenda. The agenda shall include under reports items that will warrant individual attention for council. And we'll start with item number 8A1, appointment of members to various city committees and boards. It is the Director, Corporate Services Clerk's Report number DCS 2021-22. And the resolution is that pursuant to the Director of Corporate Services Clerk's Report number DCS 2021-22, appointment of members to various city committees and boards, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-02, the appointments bylaw, be prepared for council's consideration. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Feeney, seconded by, seconder, please, Councillor Sanderson. Any discussion on this item? Councillor Carr.
Thank you. Yes, I'd actually like to make an amendment to the motion. And the motion can read as is, but after consideration, and that the Belleville Library Board and Transit Operations Advisory Committee citizen appointments be deferred until such time that the city has publicly advertised for these opportunities, and that City Council consider all applications in a future closed meeting as the process involves identifiable individuals. And I'll speak to it if I have a seconder.
Hey, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Thompson seconded it. Councillor Carr, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So we don't really have a prescribed process outlined in our procedural bylaw. In the course of my time on council, I've seen closed session, I've seen open session, and we've just kind of been going along with just a practice as it comes up. Citizen appointments to boards and committees has always been through a public advertisement process. That's what we've done even recently with the midterm. And council needs to be consistent with that process. And in full disclosure, I was asked to provide names of interested residents for transit. And I did reach out to about half a dozen residents who I thought would be interested. And from what I understand, a couple did apply. But as I reflect on this further, I believe that it's more reasonable, fair, transparent to have a truly public process with equal opportunity for all applicants to, or all residents to apply, and a process that's inclusive. Again, we don't have a prescribed practice as to how we do things. There's nothing in our procedural bylaw. And I've really never liked the review of applications in open session. I think it's awkward. It puts council in an unreasonable position. So are we really reviewing applications, or are we simply rubber stamping? And I think to allow citizens to have the opportunity, an advertisement process could work. I can say, as chair of the library board, we do not have a meeting until June 15th. And so we do have time to allow for a public process. And also sitting on transit, I do know that we have not had a problem with quorum, even if we were missing a public member in the past. So I think there's an opportunity here to put it out. I know it is only two different boards, but I would think that these are two very important boards in a group of many important boards. And I think if we're going to talk about opportunity and inclusiveness, then this is an opportunity to practice that. So that's why I bring the motion forward.
Okay, thank you. Just one moment, please. Okay, so just a couple items in terms of Councillor Carr's comments that should be noted or corrected for the record. So we're dealing today with filling some vacancies that were created with the appointment of Councillor Feeney to City Council. As a result, she was a member of representing the public on 2 of those boards that then had vacancies on them. So today we're dealing with a reorganization of a number of committees to deal with the fact that those became vacant when Councillor Williams resigned. So we're filling those. But we also need to fill those 2 public members. We filled our public member boards back in February when we appointed Councillor Alsap to council to fill in for Councillor Culhane's vacancy. And we put a call out for the committees that were vacant at that time. We received, as I said, 60 applications previously, and those were used to fill those vacancies. We had applications on file for these 2 committees, and I'm very satisfied with the caliber of candidates that we've got here. We are required, as according to Mr. McDonald's opinion, to deal with citizen appointments in open session. As Councillor Carr had said, when he was on council back in 2000 to 2003, they dealt with those in camera, but it's been a practice since 2014 for us to deal with all those appointments in open session. So we continue to do so, and council's been pretty good about discussing the candidates respecting their privacy and the fact that they're volunteers. So you know, we have 2 excellent nominees for the committees. On the transit committee, Mr. Michael Harris, who is a resident of Ward 2, will make an excellent addition to that committee. He has a family and is very interested in seeing the expansion of transit services into that part of the city, which will occur this fall. And Jennifer May Anderson, who we all know would make an excellent appointment to the library board. She is the executive director of Hospice Quinte, as everybody knows, and is doing an excellent job with that organization and has a lot that she can add to the board. You know, Councillor, I did reach out to Councillor Carr and Councillor Sanderson regarding the Transit Advisory Committee because of the work that we're doing in Ward 2. And I had sent an email out, I believe, on April the 13th, which was the day after the council meeting that we appointed Councillor Feeney to fill the vacancy, because that's when now those vacancies occurred. And so, you know, it's unfortunate. I would suggest that Councillor Carr, if you really wanted to have this discussion, that you probably should have contacted me and said that this was what you would have preferred to do back when I sent the original email on April the 13th. You did submit a recommendation to me late. I asked for it to be by the 21st, but on the 21st, you did submit a recommendation to me as well as someone else. You did not raise those concerns at that time, and to do so now is unfortunate, but it is the way that you've chosen to deal with it. I'd encourage our colleagues to support the recommendations as they're made. We've got 2 extremely good members of the public, and it's unfortunate that has come this way. On discussion of the motion, I'll recognize you at the end, Councillor Carr, on the amendment. You've already spoken. Anyone else? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. McDonald. Mr. McDonald, the 2 names before us, as the mayor mentioned, I take it he alluded to the fact that these names were culled from the original batch of community applications from the last go around. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Millette. So the 2 names that are before you, I would have to go through the file and look. I'm not sure when we had vacancies for that. So whether they were during the larger call at the midpoint, the 2-year term, or whether it was just recently.
Okay, further, if I may, Your Worship, my question then, I guess, is had both of these individuals expressed interest at the last go around in these 2 committee appointments, or did this just come up recently? I guess that's where I'm coming from, because I do know I spoke with one individual who had applied for a position, community position on the library board, and it wasn't one of the people who's recommended here today.
Yeah, the last time we filled vacancies on the library board through applications would have been in 2019. So in January of 2019. So what I said was these applications were on file. So they had been received subsequent to that. There were no vacancies on transit or on the library board until Councillor Feeney was appointed and then opened up those spots.
Okay, yeah, I'm still a little confused. So in the end, so these were recently, these committee applications were recently submitted specifically for these appointments. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I just some thoughts on it. I'm not questioning the candidates. I'm questioning the process. On February the 12th until the 28th of this year, we had a 2-week period on the website where people were encouraged to volunteer and serve their city in a range of city boards and committees, bring their skill set and experience to the table with a goal of learning and making a difference in their community. And back on the 12th of February, the big push for the city, and we all agreed on council, was we want it to be a more inclusive city where everybody has a chance to participate and put their name forward. So I went back to those notes in February, and we, as the mayor touched on, we did have 60 people apply for 10 openings, 7 women were appointed. My question is, I just heard Councillor Carr mention that the next library board meeting is not for 7 weeks, and I'm not too sure when the next transit is. I have nothing against the 2 candidates. I'm sure they would do a good job. However, if we're going to walk the talk, I checked with a city staff member today. How long does it take to put up a little ad? We already have the template for committees, and I wouldn't, the answer was not that long. And I know it's only 2, but if we're going to be fair for everybody, is there potential to do this via the website to see who is interested in joining the library and transit committee and giving everybody in this city another shot at joining a committee? As the chair of Belleville's Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee, I think this is a step backwards where we're not opening it up to everyone, and I'm here to speak to that. So that's all I have to say on this.
Fair enough. All right, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing against these 2 people that have submitted their names or their names are put forward. Again, I'm going back a number of years where we did the appointments in camera. I've always said I would like to see it back in camera, because I remember when we did it, when this group here got elected and we did the open appointments, and I know that I made 2 amendments. And because some of the councillors were maybe new or whatever, maybe my motions weren't quite the ones that were, I'm trying to make some changes. I found it very awkward doing it in open session, because those people that I had voted to not accept in the committee and 2 others to put into the committee, I thought was very awkward. And I truly believe that if we are going to be inclusive, and I sit on the inclusion committee also, I think it's very important that we go back, accept applications, put it in camera, and also I really truly believe any appointment needs the input of the chair of that committee at that particular time, whether it be an open session or closed session. And especially here, I don't know whether the chairs were consulted before the names were put forward or not. That's between you and the chairs of those committees, but I truly feel that we need to go back to the public. We're never in a hurry. We did the right thing with Tyler Alsop, Councillor Tyler Alsop now, Councillor Feeney, and I think we need to be very cautious that we do the proper thing So I'm going to support Councillor Carr's motion.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anyone else that's on this. Listen, I have no issue with going and circulating it again. The likelihood of having these two recommendations coming back to you are pretty high, and we'll be back in that spot, but we can at least have gone through that process there. We have, as I said, two superb candidates for these two positions. I don't think anybody is questioning that. And so we can certainly go back and do a check on that process. The mover and the seconder of the motion, again, Mr. McDonald, can you remind me on the motion right now?
Councillor Feeney and Councillor Sanderson.
Councillor Feeney and Councillor Sanderson. And so Councillor Feeney and Councillor Sanderson, if you would agree, just to have that be a friendly amendment, so the motion would be amended. Are you okay with that, Councillor Feeney?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Sanderson?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so the motion is amended that we will circulate vacancies for the two citizen positions, one on the Transit Advisory Committee and the other one on the Public Library Board. And they will come back to council after an appropriate amount of time on the website to get applications, and then a recommendation will come back to council at a future meeting. So there we are. We are on the main motion. So on the main motion, Councillor Carr, if you want to go ahead, and I'd restrict your comments to the main motion now, please.
Of course. So the main motion does have the amendment in it, does it?
Yes, it's amended.
Yeah. Okay. So I can talk about the application process. The one question I want to, sorry.
I think what we should talk about right now is all we're dealing now basically is with council appointments. So filling Councillor Williams' vacancies and what's there, because the amended motion now says that those other items will be circulated and we'll come back to council in the future. And at that point, you can talk about the process if you'd like.
Okay, because I want to ask Mr. McDonald a question, because the amendment that I had in there, and I don't know if that's in the friendly amendment about the closed session piece.
Yeah, so what I would suggest you do on that is take that offline with him between now and when that report comes with recommendations, because last term in open session, Mr. McDonald was pretty clear regarding the requirements of the Municipal Act and for us to do citizen appointments in open session. If you have a disagreement or if you would like more information, then I would suggest you speak with him about it. When this recommendation comes back, then it will be in order for you to discuss it. Right now, we're talking about the council appointments.
Okay. No, I've got nothing further. I'm just pleased that we're able to have this conversation in open session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else on the main motion? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And I think what we're going to do in open session, under new business, colleagues, is Mr. McDonald has a resolution prepared that we'd actually make these changes today, effective immediately, so that the councillors can populate the committees for the next meetings. There are some meetings that are starting as early as next week, and we'll have full councillors in those positions. So I'll bring that up at the beginning of new business. Councillor Thompson? Yeah,
just one further, this, now that we're talking about committees, and maybe I should talk to you separate, or Mr. McDonald, the facade committee. I understand the facade committee or facade program is now going to be run by staff. If I just need to get that clarified, and if that's the case, why are we having the facade committee?
We still have a facade committee for now, Councillor Thompson, and as the changes in the community improvement plan, which the facade program is wound up in there, they'll be making some recommendations that'll come back to council at some point in the future, and we'll figure it out. But there is a facade committee at this point, and they still do have a mandate.
Yeah, I know, and I chair that committee.
Yes. Yeah. So, but if you want to talk to Director McDonald about that offline, I think that would be a good discussion, and then we can move on.
Okay, thank you.
8A2, reallocation of Alexander Street sewer separation and road reconstruction capital project funding. It is the Manager of Engineering, Deputy Director's Report number ENG 2021-10, And the resolution is that the 2021 capital budget be amended by deleting capital project 2021-1.003, Alexander Street sewer separation and road reconstruction, and that the 2021 capital budget be amended in the amount of $3,600,000 by adding the Albion Street reconstruction project, and that the 2021 capital budget be further amended in the amount of $80,000 by adding the Rollins Drive and Shelford Crescent reconstruction project, detailed design, and that the 2021 capital budget be amended as shown in attachment 1 to report number ENG 2021-10. May I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Alsap and Councillor Sandison. And so this is a return of this item from Council's decision to cancel the reconstruction of Alexander Street based on some of the feedback that we've received from the community. And we have made some residents very happy in these new areas because it looks like those projects will be able to go ahead. And I thank Deputy Director Ford for pulling this together so quickly. Any questions or comments on the items? Councillor Millette and then Councillor Alsap.
Thank you, Your Worship. And yes, I reading on the details and the breadth of this, you're very correct in that there's going to be some happy people on some other streets for this. I just have a question. I direct my question, I would guess, to Mr. Ford, I would believe, or
Director Ashton.
Director Ashton, yeah. Page 8 of the report, under the Ann Street portion of this, Mr. Ashton, the issue of trees was front and center, I think, on the earlier Alexander imbroglio, if you will. The Ann Street reconstruction, do we have any idea of how that might affect trees? Because we had quite a fulsome discussion the last time around on the effect of some of this construction on some of the heritage trees in the East Hill neighborhood. Will this affect in any way the issues? I know Ann Street's a fairly treed older section of the city, and do we know to what respect this might affect some of our tree canopy in that area?
Okay, so we are still developing overall policies for special areas with mature trees such as well, Ann Street as well as Alexander Street. So those aren't ready yet. But in terms of what our city engineer, Deputy Director Ford, has recommended, the streets he chose are definitely in need of repair. But in specifically to Albion Street, you know, the right of way is a normal right of way, what you consider probably 66 feet. The houses are well set back from the street. The feeling is that there isn't a requirement to have to remove trees, and if there are any trees that become issue, we'll look at a tree preservation plan to see if that's possible.
Yeah, I'm more concerned, I would guess, Albion Street's, do whatever Albion Street needs, knowing that that street, and with the development that is underway there, that's going to see a big influx of traffic. No, I'm more concerned, if you will, and I'm sorry if you misunderstood my question, Ann Street in particular, Mr. Ashton. Do we know how that may be affected?
Well, it won't be affected by this report, but in terms of our overall strategy moving forward, we'll be looking at tree preservation plans to see whether or not trees can be preserved. Not all trees can be preserved, but that'll be part of our updated review on some of those unique streets that we have.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Discussion on this item. Councillor Thompson, I think I saw you next.
Thank you.
Councillor Alsap and then Councillor Carr.
Couple of questions. The Alexander Street was a sewer separation. The new one that we're doing on Albion, is that a sewer separation also?
Yeah, so and it is, and we'll be looking at, so it did fit the criteria. So our deputy director Ford worked closely with finance to make sure that the streets brought forward will meet the criterion for the funding that the city received.
And Rollins and Chelford Crescent, I know that's design only. Are they sewer separation or not? Or are they just reconstruction?
So, so probably some of the combined sewers systems that are still outstanding would be at Alexander, Foreign, Murney, as well as Lingham, Octavia, Wilson, and Railway Terrace.
Okay.
So we will be working towards all of those over time. We're dedicated to prioritizing those, but it will take some time to correct those areas.
No, that's good. And as Councillor Millette said, Albion has been a disaster area for a number of years. So great to see that's done. Thank you very much.
Right, Councillor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to voice my support for this motion. Mr. Ashton and Mr. Ford and I went out and met with residents on Alexander Street, and we heard their frustrations. And as I believe Pat Culhane used to say, this is how it's supposed to work. We listened to them. We moved on to another project. I want to commend both of them on finding a very suitable project. On Alexander Street, we were looking at, I believe the water line was from 1911. On Albion Street, we have 1910. So it's even more desperate that we replace this one by a factor of about 1%. And, I think that this is a good transition. Then I also like that we're using the additional $80,000 to get the ball moving down the field on the Rollins Drive and Chelford Crescent area as well. And that we're properly using all that up in the budget and moving forward on some important projects. And I believe Albion was ranked number 5 out of 549 identified roads in terms of needing replacement. So once again, this is something that needed to happen, and we're redirecting it very quickly. So thank you to staff for that.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
Thank you. And I know that there was a lot of work done on the other project, and certainly lots of consultation. And it looks as though if council identifies these projects, they will be full steam ahead. Kind of in the lines with Councillor Millette's comments just about trees. Obviously, there'll be a public information center that will proceed with these projects. Director Ashton?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, do you have an anticipated ballpark in terms of when they may occur? Because I recognize that these are projects that were in queue, but were not as urgent as they've become now because of the reallocation.
Yeah, so they're in terms of the timing for Albion, we're looking at finalizing ministry approvals as well as public consultations. So it'll be a bit of hopefully early, ideal, maybe before early fall, but I think it'd be reasonable to expect around September would be a case where we'd be able to do a PIC.
Sure. Okay. No, and I appreciate staff got a lot of work to do here to move these forward, to be in that position. I just would like to see the consultation occur sooner rather than later so that staff can anticipate the feedback, work it in somehow, so we're not getting ourselves into another situation where we're not, people aren't happy with what's being proposed. So consultation at the front end may make it a lot easier when you come to final design.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on this? Yeah, so following up on Councillor Carr's comment, which is a good one, just because the Albion Street project is funded through the 2021 capital budget funding source, it's not likely it'll commence in 2021. This is going to be a 2022 project that'll be paid for out of the previous budget. The other projects that are in design now, that if staff can really move them along, those designs and proposals will be ready to be considered as part of the 2022 capital budget And then there'll be a whole process to go through public consultation with that as well. You know, we've had a number of comments and complaints about the road in particular in front of Harry J. Clark. That school has been expanded. And of course, during COVID pandemic times, when they are having students on site, it is really very, very heavy traffic. And the drainage on the street is such that when you either get melt in the springtime, or if it rains, it pools up over top onto the shoulders where children are getting out of vehicles or whatnot. So it's become a really important project, but it's not one that we would likely do during the school year. So, you know, that gives you an idea of the timing of those ones. So it's good. You know, when we made the decision to cancel the Alexander Street project, pending some of the work on the Complete Streets project, I had numerous emails from residents with suggestions of where those funds could go instead. And I want to thank everybody that's contacted me. And I know that the folks on Albion, which had contacted me about doing this project, it's kind of like finding someone else's winning lottery ticket. And, you know, you've moved up so far. So, you know, it's, this doesn't happen very often, but it has happened here. And we're all, I think, very excited about moving with Albion, particularly with that new development that's scheduled to open this fall. And we'll see it. So the motion is on the floor. I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. 8A3, Loyalist College Expansion Development Charge Waiver. It is the Chief Building Official and Manager of Finance Deputy Treasurer's report number DDF 2021-03. And the resolution is that the City of Belleville waive development charges in the amount of $52,181.65 levied on the construction of a new 960 square meter second-story addition to the Loyalist College to be used as a health and wellness center. May I please have a mover and a seconder, Councillor Sanderson and Councillor Kelly. Discussion. Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. 8A4, purchase of 2 four-wheel drive vehicles, 2022 model year with service bodies, F250 series. It is the Manager Capital and Fleet Assets report number CFAM-2021-05. And the resolution is that the 2021 capital budget item 21-1.026, unit 184-03 truck replacement transit vehicle be increased by $16,000 to be funded from provincial gas tax, and item 21-1.03 unit 53-01 truck replacement public works vehicle be increased by $4,500 to be funded from capital equipment reserve, and that the request for proposal submission from Benton Fry Ford Sales Limited be accepted for the supply and delivery of 2 four-wheel drive vehicles 2022 model year with service bodies F250 series in the amount of $165,969 plus $21,575.97 HST for a total of $187,544.97. This being the lowest qualified proposal received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Feeney and Councillor Alsap. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8A5, purchase of 1 new model year half-ton crew cab short box 4-wheel drive pickup truck. It is the it is the Manager of Capital and Fleet Assets report number CFAM 2021-06. And the resolution is that the 2021 capital budget item number 21-1.083 half-ton truck purchase be increased by $2,000 to be funded from the Wastewater Reserve Fund, and that the request for proposal submission from Quantrill Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac Limited be accepted for the supply and delivery of 1 new model year half-ton crew cab short box 4-wheel drive pickup truck in the amount of $50,219 plus $6,528.47 HST for a total of $56,747.47. This being the only qualified proposal received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Carr. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, colleagues. We'll now move on to 8B, consent items, where council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. So I'll go around the way my screen is set in terms of asking people for items to be pulled. I'll start with Councillor Kelly. Any items to be pulled?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, 8B3, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alsap? No, Councillor Carr?
8B3, please.
Okay, Councillor Sanderson?
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
8B2 and 8B3.
Thank you. Councillor Millette?
I have 8B2 as well. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor McCaw?
No, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Feeney? Okay. So that the following agenda items be approved, the exceptions of 8B2 and 8B3. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? It's carried. And so 8B2 is the execution of subdivision agreement, final approval of plan of subdivision for 25 Dundas Street West, the Dockside Quinte. The owner is Bell Harbor Limited Partnership, and the files are 12 CD-14001. It is the development engineer and training report number APS 2021-13. And the resolution is that a bylaw to approve and authorize the execution of a subdivision agreement between Bell Harbor LP and the Corporation of the City of Belleville be prepared for council's consideration, but that the respective agreement and related documentation not be signed until such time as the manager of approvals advises that the owners have satisfied all city requirements, and that the Dockside Quinte plan of subdivision for the lands municipally known as 25 Dundas Street be granted final approval, and that the manager of approvals be authorized to stamp and sign the final plans, provided that the owners have satisfied all city requirements and the surveyor's subdivision plans are satisfactory to approvals staff. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Millette. Councillor Thompson, you're the only surviving council member that was there at that time when this idea was first brought forward. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This goes back a long ways, as the mayor just spoke, and the radio station called me the other day for an interview, and it does go back when I first come on council. This project has been really badly needed for our waterfront. Just like I was down for my walk on Saturday, or yesterday's matter, and somebody said, what value is the waterfront to the city? And I said, we're going to be adding the biggest value to our waterfront if everything goes a plan for the approval for these 3 towers to go up and 15 stories, and the number of people that are going to be moving downtown. And I have to give credit to the determination of the group that's brought this forward to fruition, because we have such an interest in our community now. Our downtown's revitalizing. We got the old Quinte Hotel been bought, and now we got this one. And, you know, this shows Belleville is definitely on the move for the waterfront. And what that's going to do for our waterfront, for our boating interest people, will be insurmountable. I have one question, and Mr. Ashton, or is going to somebody, the trail that we had, our waterfront trail and our trail up past there, is any of that going on that particular piece of land for that waterfront trail?
So I know the Parks and Rec Department has been involved with commenting on that. I know there are plans for the trail. I could follow up with you to let you know exactly where that trail is going to go. The only reason I bring it up, it's certainly a good opportunity now that they're in early discussions of getting this project going.
and there's going to be lots of land work. So I would encourage staff to make sure they have the dialogue, and if there's anything that we can negotiate with them for particular land, if we need it for to get our trail the full extent that we want it to be, because I know we wanted the trail to go further west anyways. So this is a connection that's important. And I know I talked to Director about future plans on the Dundas Street Bridge. So that may be a few years down the road, Mr. Ashton or Dr. Ashton. But this could take it all into place. But this development, great. When I picked that up, I said, my goodness, here we are. So congratulations to the group, and look forward to it coming to fruition in a few years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anyone else on this item? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I had asked that this one be pulled as well, and I'm going to support it wholeheartedly. It has been in the works, and I recall some of the excitement back when it was while I wasn't on council. I was in my former incarnation, and I know the community acceptance on this was quite high, and there are some reservations, I suppose, from some elements of the public who believe that all areas close to the Bay Shore should remain green spaces. For some of them, I would like to remind that this was once, and in some respects may still be, a brownfield site, as it was once a heavily industrial site. Manufacturing facilities on this property date back to the 1920s, I believe, to the 30s. An aircraft manufacturing facility was on this site at one point. My questions, I guess, are to Mr. Ashton, through you, Your Worship. I see, and this I know has probably been answered, but remember, this is a 2014 proposal that's finally coming to fruition. I see traffic that the primary access will be via Old Bay Bridge Road. So we're talking about the extension of the southern terminus, if you will, of Old Bay Bridge Road in front of the hotel to continue on. And as I saw in the plans, a cul-de-sac at that point. If somebody can explain to me, because I'm thinking of traffic at the intersection at the bottom of Bay Bridge, the Norris Whitney Bridge, and that intersection, and how much of that is actually going to use the Mary Street train crossing, which these two the access and egress to this project, I guess, to get to my point, is causing me a bit of concern. And then I guess I want to know if all parties are satisfied that this is sufficient, specifically as well fire.
Director Ashton?
So Old Bay Bridge Road, if I believe it's in the documents that were sent around, it's on page 10 of the report, and you'll see that there's a block, it's titled Block 7.
Yes.
And that'll be the cul-de-sac. So basically, if you want to, lack of better wording, sort of a cul-de-sac that'll veer to the right and have traffic that way. So I think it's important to note too that this is a plan that's been in the process for a long time, and there's been about 7 renditions of the plans, very minimally. And so during this review, all staff departments, including the engineering department, as well as the parks department, have been involved with the review and providing comments on this plan. So it has been very well vetted and nobody has concerns.
Okay.
The one major thing that they're waiting for, we're anticipating soon, is the record of site condition and a few minor changes, and they'll be able to proceed at that point.
Yeah, and that brings me back to my original point. Site condition, from what I understand, we may have to do some soil remediation there, from what I understand from its former heavy industrial use. I know that parks are convinced that this is definitely not a place for any parkland, as it's surrounded, it's landlocked by commercial uses on all sides and a rail line on the other. So I'm very happy to support this. I just had some concerns about access and egress, but if all the departments have signed off, and most crucially, I guess fire have signed off on this, I'm happy with that as well. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Alsap, I believe I've got you next on the list. No, okay, sorry, I thought you said anyone else that would like to say anything or have a question? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 8B3, the summary report for the 2020-21 Overnight Warming Center. It is the Deputy Fire Chief's report number FES 2021-06, and the resolution is that the Deputy Fire Chief's report number FES 2021-06, summary report for 2020-21 Overnight Warming Center be received. Councillor Kelly, you first pulled this, so you'll move it, seconded by Councillor Alsap. Councillor Kelly, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to thank Deputy Fire Chief Paul Patry for the report. Just wanted to share a couple of things with those folks watching today on YouTube. It's been quite a year for the Overnight Warming Center. If you haven't had a chance to read the report, the center was open for 40 nights. 552 clients visited the warming center, 69% male, 31% female, and an increase from the previous year by 166%. And I just wanted to thank Hastings Prince Edward Public Health Unit for their partnership, Grace Inn and Hastings County for their work this year with the warming center. And no cases or no outbreaks of COVID-19 directly linked to the Overnight Warming Center. If the Deputy Fire Chief, Mr. Patry, is there, I just wanted to kind of get your summarization in a few words about the Warming Center this year, some of the challenges, and what can the city look forward to with stronger partnerships with possibly the county and costing. So any thoughts?
Through the chair, Councillor Kelly. Yes, it was somewhat dynamic of a season this year. COVID just added another layer of complexity. As you've indicated, we were fortunate not to have any outbreaks directly related to the warming center. I'm grateful really to the staff for that, that constant vigilance of reminding people to be wearing their PPE. Moving forward, once again, the challenges are going to be location. The location served us well. The facility is what it is. We made it work, let me put it that way. I'm quite excited about the prospect of the warming center maybe migrating more into a 24-hour or 7-day-a-week, more of a counseling or a hub, to which is what Hastings County currently is investigating, the potential of that being. As you're well aware that the need is more than just shelter. There's also counseling and other services that are required, to which I would suggest our other partners within our municipality that are better suited to meet those needs. And we'll see who steps forward.
All right, well, thank you. It's just, you know, for the city's most vulnerable, it's great to have all the different players, agencies coming together to make it work. And I don't believe we hit -10 40 times this winter. I think there was some kindness, and there was opportunities maybe where we knew that the 30,000+ that we had budgeted wasn't going to be used, and your team decided to open up the warming center on nights before it got to -10. Is that fair, Deputy Chief?
No, if it was projected to be at -10, that's where we were.
All right, I thought there was a few times that was opened at about -8. Anyway, thank you for everything you did.
You're welcome.
Yeah. A temperature prediction is not an exact science, Councillor Kelly. Sometimes it goes there. Discussion, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, again, I just I want to congratulate the Deputy Fire Chief Paul Patry on a season that was very well organized. We've had it now for 2 or 3 years. We've had our challenges in the past because of the organization. This year, it was very well organized through the county and through the deputy fire chief. And we come out on budget, within budget anyways, and the county stepped up. And I think it was a very well, I heard very few complaints. We did have a few at the first, people wanting to be more involved than they needed to be. And Deputy Fire Chief made sure that we stayed in our plan. And towards the middle, everything just seemed to iron itself out. People dropped off food, people dropped off clothing, is what we wanted, but we couldn't have the other. And, you know, the nights that we had, we definitely were needed. And from there, now we got to look to next year, what we're going to do. And at the end, I would, and I don't know whether this is the time, not your worship, I'd like to bring a report, or when I ask for a report on the future of that particular police station or that particular property at our next council meeting. So I don't know whether to ask that now or wait after for new business.
So I think there's two separate issues, Councillor Thompson. You know, one is the building, but also, you know.
Okay, I'll bring it up.
I think, if I can say that, I think as a result of your and Councillor Kelly's questioning and positioning regarding the activation temperature that this year, then we saw that reduced from -15 down to -10. And our work with Hastings County, they are now exploring whether or not they will take the lead on a facility. And I think that we want to see some information or a report, you know, by September, October at the latest this fall, so that we can prepare for the next winter season. This is the third year that we've run the overnight warming center. We started in the winter of 2019. And then we continued it in the fall of 2019, in the winter of 2020, and then again last fall and this winter. And each of those years, the spending for the facility has gone up, and the usage has gone up. And so, you know, this year we were able to have partners on site to do more than just provide the room. We also wanted to make sure that they were aware of services. And Hastings County contributed some funding. In our case, $31,182 to the operations of the Belleville Overnight Warming Center. So with their recognition that as part of their social service offerings, as a partner with us, that they have a role to play and they're looking at it, I think let's see what they come back with. And in the fall, we should receive that report before it's too late and we're back into winter-like conditions, so we can determine if it's sufficient or if there's some other way we can play a role with it. So that's the report, the first one. And then with respect to the building and the future use of that building, that's a separate matter, which I'm anticipating we'll receive some correspondence from Habitat for Humanity within the next couple of months.
Okay, that's really where I want to go, more so that we can plan for the warming room, but also where Habitat is really thinking of going with that, because as I said before, I was approached by another agency that's possibly interested, I'm not sure, and they approached me and I said I would
so let's deal with that when we hear from Habitat in terms of what their proposal is, and we're there. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, resuming debate on this. Councillor Alsap.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Panchak. Just wanted to congratulate staff and Deputy Fire Chief Paul Patry for the great job that they've done down there at the warming center. Keeping 552 people warm on the coldest nights of the year is very important. And this is something, you know, I know sometimes we're criticized for, you know, what goes on with homelessness and affordable housing. There's definitely work there to be done, but I think it needs to be said that this is not something that a lot of municipalities do. This is something we really spearheaded for the area and got out there backing as a council. So I'd like to commend council for that. And that we're now at a point where we're having discussions about, you know, Hastings County moving in and taking it over in a larger sense and expanding the service offerings. I think that's commendable on their part. And it speaks to us having gotten out there and brought this forward in the first place. And also very pleased to see, you know, 552 visits. about $35,000. So we're looking at about $60 a visit. So from a cost perspective, it was also run in a very efficient and I think responsible way. So I just wanted to put that out there and say thank you to staff and everybody who worked so hard on that warming center. I'm very interested to see where it goes and very much like to be part of those discussions in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Alsop. Councillor Carr.
Thank you. And yes, I'd like to echo thanks to Deputy Fire Chief Patry for taking the lead on this. It probably doesn't necessarily fall within the purview of the fire service per se, but under emergency coordination, you know, they've taken on this role and done an exceptional job. Considering where we started and where we are now, as our location has evolved, I'm really pleased to see that Hastings County has stepped up, and in addition to that, that there's been other stakeholders involved. I said this at the front end that you can provide somebody with an overnight place to stay warm, but it's the other issues that got them to that particular point in their life where they're seeking emergency shelter and overnight warming. And if we can have those other organizations step in and start assisting these individuals with whatever their needs may be, it offers the stability that hopes that they don't have to use these type of facilities in the future. And so that connection is so key. The other thing is we've seen the increase go up, you know, and I've said this before, the City of Toronto has been under a significant strain when it comes to their shelters. And if there's no direct connection to the city, they are directing them elsewhere. And so folks are looking for a warm place to stay and have some shelter in some community. And certainly that's could be occurring here. I know that there's a homelessness survey that's being conducted through one of the churches. I know that the mayor provided some transit passes to make sure that that gets done. That's another critical piece that as we work with Hastings County and coordinate, that we'll have a better picture to provide this exceptional service in the future. So thanks again for the fire service for taking the lead on this.
Okay, thank you. I see Councillor Thompson, you want another comment, but I'll ask if anyone else has anything first before that hasn't spoken yet.
No, that's okay. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Great. Yeah. So, you know, municipalities like Toronto, they run their own social services, unlike us here in Belleville, where we work with our partners in the region under Hastings County. And there was federal funding this year to assist with COVID and homelessness and different programs. You know, we don't qualify for that because we're not the housing provider in this case, and Hastings County has. That's where some of the funds that they made available for us has come from. But I think they clearly see the need for that moving forward. And so, you know, we will continue to work with them. They are the best suited to provide this array of services, and we're grateful for Deputy Chief Patry and all of the Belleville Fire Service personnel. I know they stopped in throughout the year, checked on them like they did in previous years to make sure that supplies were there. But it was it's a necessary need now, and certainly you know, we want to do the job appropriate, and we appreciate it. So with that, I will call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And we will expect to see something in September, October, early November with respect to what Hastings County has plans for an overnight or an expanded service shelter offerings this fall. All right, that was the last item in 8B. So we'll now move to 8C, which are council information matters, and council may adopt consent items by one motion. But prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council should consider such items individually. I know my screen has changed a little bit, but I'll still go from the back to the front. Councillor Thompson.
No, thank you.
Councillor Alsop.
No, thank you.
Councillor Feeney.
No, thank you.
Councillor McCaw.
Just that 8C2 I mentioned previously.
If it doesn't get pulled, then we won't. You won't need to declare it, or you won't need to leave the meeting. Councillor Millette. Okay. Councillor Sanderson.
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
And Councillor Kelly. No, thank you. Perfect. So that the following agenda items be received. I need a motion. Councillor Feeney and Councillor Alsop. All in favor? It's carried. Motion to rise and report. Councillor Alsop and Councillor Thompson. All in favor? It's carried. So we will deal with bylaws, and if it's okay with council, I will read just the numbers. First reading of bylaws 2021-90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100. May I have a motion, please? Mover and a seconder, Councillor Alsop and Councillor Feeney. All in favor? It's carried. Second reading of bylaws 2021-90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Millette. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And third and final reading of bylaws number 2021-90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100. Moved by Councillor Carr, second by Councillor Sanderson. All in favor? It's carried. New business, and I'll deal with those two items. Mr. McDonald. So I need a mover and a seconder for a resolution that bylaw number 2021-103, a bylaw to approve and authorize the execution of a lease termination agreement between the Corporation of the City of Belleville and Focus Coffee Bar, Inc., be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 26th day of April 2021. Moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Thompson. And just for the information of the public watching, this deals with the coffee bar at the Belleville Public Library. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And then just one moment, please. I need a motion, mover and a seconder, that bylaw number 2021-102, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2019-02, a bylaw to appoint members to boards, committees, and special committees, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 26th day of April 2021. And to clarify, these are just for the city councillor appointments on various boards and committees. So I need a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Feeney. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, colleagues. So those committees are populated with members of council for their next meetings. I'd like to take a moment now under new business to thank all of our residents for adhering to the strict regulations that have been put in place by the Government of Ontario based on the most recent province-wide stay-at-home order. I'm grateful to all of our residents and businesses who have cooperated and are working hard to stop the spread of this virus. We are concerned with the recent increases in confirmed cases over the past few weeks in our region and the number of variants present in Ontario. We must continue to be vigilant to look after each other. The existing shutdown continues to have an impact on city operations, but we continue to offer access to as many of our normal city services and facilities as we possibly can, while keeping resident safety top of mind. So I just want to provide a couple of quick updates and reminders. City Hall is open by appointment only. Those who require in-person service to obtain marriage licenses or building permits are asked to call to book an appointment. In an effort to assist with the financial difficulties imposed by COVID, the City of Belleville has provided a 1-month extension for the second installment of 2021 property taxes to May the 27th. Transit service continues to operate with safety precautions in place. The Belleville Public Library continues to offer curbside pickup and drop-off. The library board has also announced the waiving of all late fees for the remainder of the year. And for those using this time to do spring yard work around their homes, our leaf and yard waste depot will remain open. The Thurlow landfill site is also keeping normal operating hours. The Quinte Sports and Wellness Center is currently closed to the public. However, many programming events are continuing via Zoom where possible. Our hope is to reopen the Wellness Center and resume outdoor field rentals on Tuesday, May the 25th, immediately following the long weekend. A reopening date for the harbors has yet to be confirmed. However, boat launches remain open and we continue to process boat ramp passes. I'd like to remind and clarify for residents that our playgrounds, parks, and green spaces do remain open. I encourage you to get outside and enjoy some fresh air while being safe and practicing the 3 W's: wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear a mask. We continue to provide full outdoor activities this summer with appropriate COVID-19 safety protocols in place. And the resumption, we plan on the resumption of full indoor activities when it is safe to do so. More information on those activities will be released when it is available. We continue to have good news regarding vaccinations here in our region. The provincial vaccine booking system is now open to all individuals age 40 and over. Several local pharmacies are now offering appointments in addition to those available through the Hastings and Prince Edward Public Health Clinics. We expect significant supply to become available in the coming days and weeks. Last Thursday, I received my first AstraZeneca shot at the Dundas Street Shoppers Drug Mart from pharmacist Nile. I was included in the recent round of eligibility and registered online on Tuesday. I won't tell anyone how old I am, but I am between 40 and 55, so I became eligible. The process was quick and painless, and I encourage those who are able to register to do so. I wanted also to make a point of receiving the AstraZeneca vaccine. It is safe, and residents should have no concerns about receiving whatever vaccine is available to you. I do also want to take a moment to brag a little bit about the performance of our health unit in helping to keep our numbers so low in comparison to almost every other jurisdiction in North America. Last year, when we started with COVID, we recognized that our ability to deal with the spread of that virus would be through testing until a vaccine was available. Our testing in our region continues to be extremely strong. We are ranked #1 for COVID-19 testing per capita in all of Ontario. Testing is administered in our region under the leadership of Quinte Healthcare and utilizes the health unit and our paramedic services. But what is perhaps most impressive is what we do with the results of those tests. In our region, based on the provincial indicator of the percent of contacts reached within 2 days, our indicator is 99.8%. That means that for every positive case identified through the testing system, we are able to reach 99.8% of the contacts to warn them of possible exposure and to ensure public health measures such as self-isolation and follow-up testing is adhered to. And this is amazing performance. And that is what has allowed us to perform very well as a region. And we thank everyone involved. Congratulations to Dr. Oglaza and all of the staff, as well as the Hastings and Prince Edward Health Unit Board, including our own councillors, Kelly and Sanderson, who represent us on that board. As of today at 2 p.m., we have done just under 129,000 tests to date. Lastly, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody involved in administering vaccines for their service. They are also part of the front line that have been heroes throughout this pandemic, and we look forward to a time when all of us will be vaccinated. This group has expanded beyond hospital staff, paramedics, and the health unit staff to also include our local pharmacies. Our supply has been limited, but this group of dedicated individuals has done a great job and allows us to look forward to a brighter future. There have been over 63,206 vaccines administered in our health unit region to date, with over 3,962 individuals fully vaccinated with both doses. The statistics on the health unit site include all vaccinations in our region across public health, paramedicine, and pharmacies, as well as those residents who receive their vaccines out of our area. When we factor out non-residents from our vaccinations today, we've pushed through 31% of our entire health unit population that have received at least one vaccine dose. And while this is a tremendous sign for a brighter future, we recognize that this continues to be a difficult and stressful time for many in our city. I want residents and businesses to know that your well-being is our highest priority. And as a council, we remain collectively and singularly focused on your safety and health in all of our decisions. We thank you for your cooperation and support of our efforts, and we encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as you are able to. Colleagues, anyone else have any items they want to deal with under new business today? Okay, I don't see any. Then we have no motions today. And as I promised at our last meeting, I do have a notice of motion. And the notice of motion deals with our existing ward system for election of councillors. Whereas Section 217 through Section 222 of the Municipal Act authorizes a municipality to divide or redivide the municipality into wards or to dissolve the existing wards. And whereas the current ward boundaries of the City of Belleville have been in place since amalgamation in 1998, and the city has seen enormous growth in residential building and population. And whereas the Municipal Act requires changes to ward boundaries to come into effect for the next regular election by January 1st, 2022. And whereas Belleville City Council recognizes the importance of and wishes to have an opportunity to consult residents on changes to our current two-ward system. Therefore, be it resolved that a bylaw to revise the current two-ward system for the City of Belleville be prepared for Council's consideration to utilize a four-ward system for the next regular municipal election while retaining the current 8 individual councillor allotment. And that City Council give first reading of this bylaw at the regular council meeting on May 25th, 2021, so that residents may continue to provide feedback on this proposed change in advance of council considering the issue for a second and third reading on August the 9th, 2021. And therefore, if approved by council, sufficient time for any additional regulatory requirements, including the provision of notice specifying the last day for filing a notice of appeal with the municipality, setting out objections to the bylaw and the reasons supporting those objections, so that any potential challenges may be dealt with prior to the end of 2021. And therefore, new ward boundaries will be in force and effect by January 1st, 2022, and be used in the 2022 regular municipal election for the City of Belleville. And that information will be circulated for all members of council before the next meeting. Anyone else with a notice of motion today? Seeing none, I'll move to announcements. Colleagues, anyone have any announcements they want to make today? Councillor Thompson.
I just got 2 of them. I want to, first of all, I really want to congratulate all the downtown investors that has shown interest in our downtown. The retrofits that are going on downtown is amazing. The future that we're looking at for downtown, for whether the condos or retail, is pretty inspiring. So, and I get interest in the old Maze Mall, the new pictures and what it was before will be coming shortly. So I want to congratulate the developers. And I want to say that I got my vaccine, my wife and I, last week at Loyalist, and pretty happy about that. And then the last is I want to congratulate Mary Jo from the DBIA on seeking new employment, and thank her for everything that she's done for the City of Belleville. And I'd like a letter, if it's appropriate, to come from the city to thank her for involvement in what she's done for the city. If that's appropriate, Mayor, I would like to ask.
Absolutely. I don't see anyone having an issue with that. We'll send it to her. She's with us for a little bit yet, but absolutely. We've seen tremendous improvement in downtown with the entire BDI board as well as staff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the downtown. If you look at last year alone, I've never seen so many people as last year downtown, COVIDs and all. And just shows remembrance. So we will miss her, but there's always somebody else coming along. So thank you.
Good. All right. Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship, and it's on a sad note, and I just wanted to mention that the city recently lost a well-known restaurateur and a fine gentleman of the community. Michael Tom passed earlier this month, I believe April 10th. And for those who don't know or didn't know Michael, Michael and his wife Susie ran the very successful Sunluck Gardens on North Front Street, which was it was a bit of a landmark restaurant. It famously advertised itself, and it was indeed one of the places to eat in Canada. And if anybody had ever been there, you knew that it was a top-notch destination restaurant with the Toms running the restaurant and Susie with the gracious hostess. But I'll tell you, that woman who is still with us, and bless her, is mourning the loss of Michael, was the most amazing waitress who could take a room full of Quinte home builders, I recall, on a number of occasions being there as a reporter covering their meetings, and Susie wouldn't have a notepad in her hand or an order pad and remember a table of 12 to 14 people, every item that they ordered, and never made a mistake. But that was the kind of top-notch place that. So I would just like to say the community mourns the passing of Michael Tom and wishes all the best to his wife Susie. He will be remembered.
All right, thank you, Councillor Millette. Anyone else for announcements today? Councillor Kelly.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment. I want to welcome Councillor Feeney. So nice to see you today, and I hope you enjoyed your first meeting, and best wishes to you.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Anyone else? All right. I would like to proclaim May as Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Belleville. It is imperative that communities across Canada be reminded of the importance of sun safety. The Save Your Skin Foundation is dedicated to fight against non-melanoma skin cancers, melanoma and ocular melanoma through a nationwide education, advocacy, and awareness initiative. I'd also like to proclaim May the 13th as Falun Dafa Day this year. To those celebrating the 29th year of Falun Dafa, I wish you a joyous anniversary. We stand with you in your struggle against violence, tyranny, oppression, and dictatorship. I would also like to proclaim May 2021 to be Community Living Month in the city of Belleville. Community Living Belleville and area works with the city of Belleville, with volunteers and other groups and organizations to build a community of inclusion, quality, and respect that celebrates the contribution of all citizens. The 2021 census collection will begin on May the 3rd. The city of Belleville supports the 2021 census and encourages all residents to complete their census questionnaire online at www.census.gc.ca. Statistics Canada has adapted the collection process to ensure all Canadians remain safe while participating in this vital national exercise. Accurate and complete census data supports programs and services that benefit our community. I am really proud to announce that the City of Belleville's very own Chief Administrative Officer, Rod Beauvais, recently received a long service recognition award from the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators for 15 years of municipal leadership service. I would like to congratulate Rod on this honor and thank him for his ongoing commitment to the municipal profession and the citizens of Belleville. I also want to announce that the City of Belleville will honor former Ward 2 Councillor Jackie Denies by naming a roundabout in Thurlow Ward after her. A ceremony to mark this achievement will take place in early June, with all of the information regarding her service to our city released at that time. Today was the last day of the homelessness enumeration survey run by Bridge Street United Church, Hastings County, and other community organizations. This survey is mandated by the federal government and will provide a snapshot of homelessness in our community. I was pleased to drop off 100 adult day transit passes on behalf of the city to Craig Olivier last Tuesday to assist with participation in this important program. I'd like to say a big thank you to Bridge Street United, Hastings County, and all the volunteers who make this program possible. I was also pleased to present a check to Community Living Belleville and area on behalf of Alexicon Energy last week. The $2,000 donation will go to helping with their annual Mayor's Challenge golf tournament. Community Living Belleville and area is a non-profit that provides support to individuals with an intellectual disability and their families. The tournament is their largest fundraiser, with all funds raised going towards assistive equipment. Proceeds from the 2019 tournament went into purchasing an accessible van, which is now being used to help people visit their families, explore their community through leisure activities, for employment, medical, recreational, spiritual endeavors, and much more. We are looking forward to this year's tournament on June 1st, if COVID restrictions allow, and the City of Belleville is the defending champions of the Mayor's Challenge tournament. This is the season for construction in the city. We have a number of infrastructure projects taking place throughout Belleville, including work on the Saganaska Bridge, Moira Street, the Lower Bridge, Sydney Street, and much more. I want to remind residents to allow themselves time to get to where they need to be, and please be patient as this important work is completed. Due to the COVID-19 gathering restrictions, the City of Belleville has decided to cancel the tree seedling giveaway originally planned for May 1st this year. In its place, city staff will be working with Quinte Conservation to give tree planting a boost on municipal lands. Stay tuned to the City of Belleville's website and social media channels for future updates on tree planting. Belleville General Hospital's intensive care unit staff are seeking donations from the community to help patients currently in isolation. Given the stay-at-home order, residents are asked not to go to stores to purchase items, but if you have any of the following at home and wish to help, they are accepting DVD players, tablets, crossword puzzles, pens and pencils, magazines and books, unused combs, unused brushes, hair ties, unused toothbrushes, denture cleaners. Contactless drop-off can be made at 22 McGill Street in Trenton, in Quinte West. Parks and Open Spaces held their virtual playground upgrades open house last Thursday. Participants had the opportunity to view proposed playground replacements for Hague Park, Stanley Parkette, and Cascade Park, and vote on their preferred option for each park. Thank you to everyone who took the time to participate and provide their input. With that, I will ask for a confirmatory bylaw, that bylaw number 2021-101, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on April 26, 2021 be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 26th day of April, 2021. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Feeney and Councillor Alsop, all in favor, it's carried. And a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Thompson, all in favor, it's carried. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see